Oh, hello friends, and welcome to our tiny shop. It's a little cramped in here, and yet somehow we've made some pretty huge pieces like these. Okay, so it's not really that tiny, but it isn't particularly large either. We are lucky enough to have a 2-car garage that is as deep as our house. This leaves some extra room left over for a small workshop. With the cars in here, we're left with a workspace about 20 by 13. For large projects, we pulled the cars out to temporarily increase our usable space to about 20 by 32. This gives us extra room for assembly or finishing. But since the cars are in the garage most of the time, everything we use has to be able to fit into the shop portion.
We'll begin our tour at the heart of the workshop, the table saw. We inherited this Craftsman table saw from my granddad. He introduced me to woodworking, so it's an honor to have his saw in our shop. Being an older saw, it does have a few quirks, but it still runs well. With a sharp blade and a few jigs, we've made some truly great DIY furniture pieces. It's on wheels, so it's easy to move if we need extra room for managing large sheets or extra long boards. By far, the best thing we have done for this saw is the addition of an outfeed table and a side support table. The side support table also migrates around the shop as an assembly table, or to the front of the saw as an infeed table for longer pieces. The outfeed table can fold down to give us more room at our workbench if we need it, but is usually left upright. And both tables have adjustable feet so that they can be leveled on our sloped garage floor. This is made possible by simply using a carriage bolt with 2 nuts to capture its position. You can DIY outfeed and infeed tables for your table saw like we did, or purchase products that work with your specific table saw brand. Regardless of your approach, this makes a huge difference when cutting pieces.
Over on the far wall of our shop, we have added a French cleat system. This cleat system holds a lot of our tools we use regularly, like clamps, hammers, screwdrivers, chisels, and more. The best part about these French cleats is how easy it is to reorganize as we get new tools or add new holders. Or, change our mind about what we want accessible on the wall quickly. We've already rearranged this layout several times in the last year in order to maximize the workshop space and with our ever-changing project needs. Also on this wall, we have all the table saw tools hung up next to the saw. This gives us a convenient spot to hang up our fence or our miter gauge as we switch between rip cuts and cross cuts. The best feature, however, is this bin for holding the push blocks and a pencil. We used to set the push blocks on the wood storage shelf behind the saw if we needed to get them out of the way. This would occasionally come back to bite us as we'd be mid-rip before realizing our block was out of reach. Never again. Lesson learned. Organize your workspace to have exactly what you need in reach.
In a small shop, you have to get creative with your use of space out of pure necessity. This leads to the invention of creative solutions, like our flip-top workbench over on the shop's main wall. This workbench was inspired by those flip-top carts that you see all over the place, but we took it to the next level. We designed an 8-foot flip-top workbench that had 3 flipping sections to fully utilize a full sheet of plywood. Then, we made a second one and put them side by side to maximize our work area and house all our large tools. Our 16-foot long workbench currently has a bandsaw, router table, planer, miter saw, belt sander, and grinder mounted to it. Every tool here can be flipped up or down as needed in order to maximize our capacity. It allows us to run full 8-foot boards through the bandsaw, router, planer, or miter saw, all in one area. And when we just need a large space for layout, glue-ups, sanding, or assembly, everything can flip down and we have plenty of room. There are DIY plans for the workbench on our website or our Etsy store. We'll leave a link in the description below. We also set the workbench at counter height to save our backs, which means we have room under the workbench for miscellaneous items like an air compressor and room for future storage expansion if needed.
Using whatever vertical space you have is another critical way to maximize your workspace and organize a workshop. The shelves above our workbench hold all the miscellaneous tools for both DIY and woodworking. We house the items we use constantly on an open shelf on the bottom level, and we have closed-off shelving on the upper to hide everything else. Because we like to DIY sustainably and use what we already have, we recently added doors to our small workshop's open shelving system. The doors help keep dust off the shelf and make the space feel more organized and clean. Instead of removing the open shelves and installing cabinets, we built 2 long doors in a shaker cabinet style. Then simply hung the doors from the ceiling by screwing in a board to the studs and attaching the door to that board. The doors can then swing upwards and be held open using a simple latch system. We love this hybrid as it allows for flexibility behind the doors, and you aren't limited to the width of a cabinet.
Our small workshop shelves are organized based on how often an item is used and keeping similar tools together. On the lowest shelf, we have our most used items that we grab regularly during projects and don't want to have to open a door for. You know, items like our sander, drill, wood glue, safety equipment, and batteries. Yes, we have a lot of drill batteries. But that's what happens when you've had a drill for 12 years. The drill's only just now starting to slip, but the batteries kept slowly getting worse and had to be replaced. On the second shelf are the tools used every now and then, depending on the project. These are things like the handheld belt sander, router bits, biscuit joiner, electrical tools, and tarps for the garden. Finally, on the top shelf is all the items rarely used. For us, that's items like a battery-powered circular saw, multi-tool, paint sprayer, plumbing gear, and miscellaneous odds and ends that have just accumulated from our past projects. We like this setup because it puts the items that we use most close at hand while also giving us a visual cue on if something isn't being used and if we should consider getting rid of it.
Beyond tools and storage space, all workshops have some form of assembly space, and our small workshop is no different. When it comes time to assemble a project component, we generally use the workbench for most of the rough assemblies or glue-ups. If it's critical to have a flat surface, then the side feed table for our table saw doubles as an assembly table. For larger projects, we honestly just use the floor. If using nicer wood, then we just throw down towels or cardboard to protect it. But typically we just sweep the floor clear of debris and then start building. We've used these smaller assembly spaces for everything from our modern platform bed frame to our storage shelves and rain barrels. We have plans and links to those in the description as well, if you're curious. Every once in a while, we just need more room to work. Larger projects like our DIY wall-mounted headboard with floating nightstands requires us to lay out 15 feet of boards to finish that project. When this happens, we just pull the cars out into the driveway to utilize that floor space for a few days while we complete that step of the project.
Most DIYers and woodworkers have some need for wood storage, even if it's mostly scrap wood. Our small workshop has shelves along the long wall of the garage. Most of the wood is offcuts from previous projects awaiting use as new projects. For example, there are some gorgeous sapelli boards left over from our modern bed frame. We'll be using them to make a mosaic headboard and a large cutting board in the near future, if we can ever get them out. Below the storage, we store pieces of plywood sheets and some sawhorses. There's some miscellaneous stuff here too though, like some extra screen from when we redid our screened-in deck, conduit from installing our own solar panels, and the router sled up top. This could definitely be improved on or reorganized, so that will probably be a project in the not too distant future. But right now, there's a spot for everything needed, with room left over at the end for our garden tools.
So, do we have a small space? Yes, but it's not as small as some, and we've put a lot of thought and effort into maximizing the space we have. There's still room for improvement, as there always will be, but we are proud of how far we've come. Keep an eye out to see how our space evolves, and be sure to hit that subscribe bell to make sure you don't miss any of our future videos. Do you use any of these organization ideas in your shop? Or do you have any suggestions for us on how we could improve our space further? If so, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you're curious why we have a sacrificial top on our workbench, then check out this video to find out. Thanks for watching.